Generally, what the board has tried to do and been fairly successful at is to put people with certain expertise, knowledge, and experience in different areas into those liaison assignments where they're best suited. And I think you've done a good job as far as your recommendations from Mr. Fode, with the talents and abilities that he brings to the table. In relation to the Hillview Commission, the chairman, I will defer to Mr. Masseri. I don't think there's anybody that has any in-depth knowledge and experience as far as what the commission does, what its original mission is, ensuring that that mission is adhered to. I think the recommendations over the years as far as the appointments that have been made and the recommendations made to the board by me as liaison have reflected well on the community and the operations of the Hillview. I don't think that there's any particular need that warrants the change at this particular time. In addition to that, I'm disappointed that I didn't hear from you in relation to what your recommendation was going to be to this moment. I mean, we've probably spoken 3 times over the last 10 days on different issues, and never was the subject of a recommendation other than what I was seeking for reappointment was discussed. And I think that's disappointing and somewhat disrespectful in relation to how the board has always operated in relation to liaison assignments. Generally, if a member of the board has been a liaison, unless there was some particular reason why the relationship between the liaison and the board, the liaison wasn't working well, there generally hasn't been changes. So I would respectfully request my fellow board members to adopt your recommendations with the exception of the Hillview Commission and replace, leave me as a liaison instead of Mr. Prisco. And I'll do that in the form of a motion. So, Mr. Chairman, I move that the recommendation for liaison assignments as presented by the chairman be adopted with one exception, that the Hillview Commission liaison be Mr. O'Leary.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Mr. Prisco.
You know, Steve, a year ago I had asked to be on that board, that commission, because I find it very interesting, first and foremost, but I also have a very strong business mind background. I think Hillview has struggled over the last several years, and in the only way I can get more knowledge on how it operates and its mission, better understand the mission, is to be part of the commission. Like Mr. Delaney said, this isn't about something you did wrong. It's just, it gives me an opportunity. Matter of fact, I believe that we should have term limits on every single one of these commissions. We should rotate them around every 3 years. How do we learn? How do we grow as selectmen in every one of these areas if we don't have an opportunity to actually work with the people that are involved in it, start to strengthen those relationships on those commissions, especially those ones such as large as this? I'm not saying I should be there for as many years as you were. I would give it up in 3 years and let maybe Joe or anybody else that's new on the board have an opportunity to get that value. This isn't about you. This shouldn't be an appointment to a commission. Shouldn't be personal. It should be the best help the board itself, board members on itself, to get educated and be able to take their expertise, which mine is significantly different than yours in some areas, that I could be able to bring some value. And so I'm gonna vote against it, and I would hope that the board take this opportunity to make a change. There's nothing wrong with change.
Steve, I will personally apologize to you that I didn't reach out and call you. And that's my misstep here, was not calling you to discuss that with you. That was wrong. And there's no malice, there's no ill will here. I just thought that give Michael an opportunity. He expressed an interest like you did with the vote. I think he has a background that he would fit over there as well. So there's no ill will, no malice directed towards you at all.
That's fine. I wouldn't expect that there would be. However, I did expect, and I guess the disappointment comes, the lack of respect in relation to whether it be me and anybody else. I don't know if you contacted anybody else, but I heard nothing from you. I don't know if anybody else had either. So if you're consistent across the board, so be it.
No, I didn't even know I was off CPC.
Let me answer that.
So.
Got the input from each one of you. They made decisions. Michael expressed the interest in that one particular, as you did Northeast Vote.
Northeast Vote was just because there was an opening with Mr. Yule, it was available. Again,
No, I understand.
I understand. Wasn't a primary concern.
I understand.
he also gave me making a recommendation, one that I didn't even express an interest in. So, that being said. But in relation to, I mean, everybody tried me. Liaison assignments are one thing. It doesn't preclude any member of this board from getting involved with any other board, committee, or commission, doing their research, talking with any members of those boards, finding out any information you would like to learn. Just because you're not the liaison doesn't mean that you don't.
Yeah.
You're
I
involved,
disagree.
and you have to heavily rely on someone else's opinion or advice or counsel. Heaven knows, you formulate your own opinions just as I do.
Yeah, but it
I-
doesn't preclude you as not being the liaison anymore to participate.
But by the same token, I spent 12 years on the commission. The mission is, on an annual basis, we have to be very diligent and cautious in relation to what happens with the Hillview Commission, what happens with those fundings, the funding sources that it can provide. The measured approach that we've taken over the years has been extremely successful, and over the years, I think it's important that there is some continuity there, that there is some longevity with that particular liaison assignment to ensure that, things are shepherded through this board, through town meeting, and through the commission, in an appropriate manner so that we don't, kill a goose that's laid the golden egg at this particular point in time. And there's been an awful lot of strain over the years, with people trying to reach out and tap into those resources, and it's taking a lot of restraint on everybody's part to prevent those things from happening. And it doesn't happen with just, change for the sake of change, and it's good.
Yep.
In this particular case, I think it's a critical liaison assignment. I think I performed it well. I think I deserve the consideration to continue to do so. And I just got reelected for 3 more years. You're up for next year.
Yep.
So we don't know who's going to be thrust
We
together
we
again
go
this
through
year.
that every year, though,
But-
with every one of these, Steve. I don't think that's a
I'm
valid
just saying,
argument,
though,
but
I think in this particular case, the continuity is important. I think the liaison, as far as keeping the board members involved, is very good, and I would like to continue to do that.
well,
And I think if you would have, and if the commission were polled and asked, I think you would find an overwhelming majority of the commission, if not unanimity, that the liaison assignment, my being there, has been valuable and useful, and I've been a useful resource to them for a number of years. I think they would like to see that continue, but they weren't asked that either, so.
Did you want, just a second.
I'd just like to remind the board of what occurred a number of years ago. The Hillview is a business, and there was some feeling on a previous board, before I was on the board, that there was people that had been on the list to get on the Hillview Commission for years and years. And therefore, to be fair, we should appoint those people that were on the list for 10, 12, 11 years wanting to get on Hillview. And that, in my opinion, and there was a little bit of that went on for a short period of time when I was on the commission, is a big mistake. The Hillview is a business. It's a business that requires a mix of skill sets. You wouldn't take someone that has no experience in finance and put him into this chief financial officer's job of a corporation, and so on and so forth. So I think that having someone that's actually served on the board and has been Steve's actually the senior member of this board in terms of number of years served, right? And someone that served also on the Hillview Commission for a number of years, right? And has taken this job and wants to continue. I think it's a little disingenuous to take him off of it when he wants to continue that service. And, I think that it sets a bad precedence. I'm not against the idea of other members learning what's going on. And I think the best way to learn is to learn from the member that's the liaison of the committee. And that's why I am very much in support of maintaining Steve as a liaison on this committee. It's nothing against Mike, it's nothing against your decision. I just think that it's in the best interest of the Hillview, and it's also serves as support for a senior member that has been doing a specific job for a long period of time, wants to maintain it.
We had this discussion earlier, right? Like I said to you, disingenuous, I don't know where that comes from, because there was nothing disingenuous about it. My misstep was not speaking to Steve about what I was going to recommend, and I acknowledge that. Without question, he deserved that, and I didn't do that, so I'm at fault. Won't be the last mistake I make, that's for sure. But in terms of, I think Michael has a background that he can be an asset over there, just as Steve has been for a number of years. And I think it's a good thing to change and get another member some experience in different avenues. I see it a little different, and I understand each commissioner, it's a business, and each commissioner should have a certain expertise that fits within that business. But I don't view the liaison role the same. That's my personal opinion. Unlike, such as the IT committee, which you're a liaison to. You have an expertise in that area, that's a unique fit that I don't have. So you're a natural fit in that area. Joe, his experience is a water commissioner, so he director of water in Somerville. He's a natural fit into the water commission as that liaison. So I see those as unique fits and skill sets. He'll view a little differently. Yes, it is a business. The commissioners should have their own expertise. But the liaison's a little different, and that's my personal opinion. So,
John, just good. Bob, I've had several businesses. One that I grew from nothing up to $60 million. All that I did, and I had to do all the financials and everything associated with that. So I have a lot of background and understanding of how to run a business. And I think I can bring a lot to the table over there. I think I can bring a different perspective. I'm not saying that just because Steve was doing something bad, there's nothing wrong with change. I find it a little concerning that with several board members, or a few board members, would think that just because we've been doing it this way with one particular person forever is the way we should continue to do it. I think it's wrong. I think it's actually bad for the town. I think we should have an opportunity, especially, I have equal rights as Mr. O'Leary to be on any of the commissions. Yes, you're right, I can go to any of these meetings and do that, but you know what? I'll have assignments as well, and I'm gonna have to go to those meetings. And, I have responsibilities that I'm gonna be signing up for tonight. So to say that I can go to all of them it's just not realistic. So let's just focus on what you hit on, and that is the experience. I don't bring any less experience than Mr. O'Leary, except for I don't have the years and years and years of knowledge being intimately involved with the commission. Of course, the commissioners are gonna come here and say, yes, we want Mr. O'Leary back. He's been there, the longest standing member, like you said. But there's also nothing wrong with bringing a new person in that maybe possibly bring some potential change for the better. Hillview has struggled. We've all talked about it right here in this room. There's nothing wrong with it. So I would ask that you reconsider your vote.
When you say Hillview has struggled because of the economy and because of the weather. It's not because of the operations or the way that they have operated over there for
No,
for
that's,
years.
I'm-
It's not because of, any inability of them to properly focus where they need to be focused and to invest where it needs to be invested.
Yeah,
Any
maybe.
struggles that they have encountered is not a direct result of action or inaction on their part. It's a
I'm not
direct
saying
result
it
of
is.
well,
I'm just
yeah,
saying
what
that
you're saying is
I
they're
could
struggling,
bring-
and you can,
They've struggled,
What are
but
you gonna
I could
solve it?
maybe bring some risk management
Light a
that
couple
I've
candles.
created. But Mr. Larry, I could potentially bring something that hasn't been discussed. Maybe sometimes being too close to it is not a good thing.
Well, maybe one of the things is getting too close to it is not a good thing either. And I guess one of the things that we have to be concerned about is the role that we play as liaison and how far we inject ourselves into the operations of some of the boards, committees, and commissions that we relate to.
you can complete that, because I want to add to that, if you're done.
Good.
No, I agree with you. And I think everyone should view their role as liaison as what a liaison is. You're not a member of that board, committee, or commission. You are a liaison.
Yeah, that's right.
From here to whatever board, committee, or
To
commission.
bring back what their operations are, what they're doing, what they're contemplating to do. Also, conversely, bring back to that board, committee, commission, what this particular board and direction we'd like to see them take. It is not to inject ourselves into their operations and and necessarily even into their deliberations, other than at an appropriate time. And I think at
I don't
times-
disagree with
at
any of that.
times,
I do that now on the
some-
boards I serve on. So,
And I would say, if that were to happen, whether it's Hillview or any other, and that comes back to me, then some action would have to be changed to make a change